Duke Snider and Pete Rozelle were classmates in Compton growing up. Snider went on to become a Hall of Fame outfielder with the Dodgers. And Rozelle, well, he was the commissioner of the National Football League for quite a while. Snider had 18 years in the major league, 16 with the Dodgers. He had a 295 career batting average. He slammed 407 home runs. He had 40 home runs or more in 5 straight seasons. And he played on 2 World Championship Dodger teams in 1955 at Brooklyn and 1959 in Los Angeles. Duke also hit 19 home runs off Hall of Fame pitcher Robin Roberts. That's the record for the most home runs by one batter off of one pitcher. Before he died in 2011, at the age of 84, I had a chance to talk with Duke.
So many memories for you. List a few for us. Dodger history.
Well, Ross, when I think about Dodger history, of course, it originates in Brooklyn. When I was growing up in Southern California, in junior high school, our teachers used to let us listen to the World Series on radio. They used to bring their own radios, plug them in, and we'd listen to the games on radio, and then we'd do all of our work, our school work. But I became a Dodger fan in 1941 when Pee Wee Reese, Pete Reiser were stars on the ball club. Reiser was a tremendous ball player, and of course we all know how good Pee Wee was. But anyway, when Hugh Casey threw that pitch to Tommy Henrich and struck him out, and the ball went back to the screen, Mickey Owen chased it, and Henrich got on base, and the Yankees came back and win that game. I felt bad for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and I became a Dodger fan that day.
Were you in Compton?
Yes, I was in Compton, California, going to Enterprise Junior High School, and I cried when they lost that game. I really felt bad about it. That's not the last time I cried being a Dodger, but we've had a lot more happy times.
Duke, you're one of only 3 Dodgers to ever hit 40 or more home runs in a season. Those were great power-hitting teams, though, weren't they?
Well, we had a ballpark to hit them in, too, but you still had to hit the ball. I mean, basically, everybody would come into Ebbets Field and say, boy, you should hit home runs. You're playing in this ballpark. I said, this ballpark was here when I was a little kid, and this ballpark was built prior to me being born. And there's been a lot of other guys come into this ballpark that had that same fence to shoot at and haven't been able to accomplish it. So the thing I was getting at is that you still got to hit it, no matter how good a hitter you are. You've got to get it airborne, get it up over that screen or into the bleachers or whatever. But I took advantage of it. I guess I was one of the first players to really take advantage of Ebbets Field, and I have a lot of fond memories there.
Duke, I guess there's never been a situation where 3 guys went into one city and played the same position and had the great careers that you, Willie Mays, and Mickey Mantle had in New York.
Well, they came along a year or two after I did. Joe DiMaggio was still playing for the Yankees when I first came up, and that was a big thrill for me to get to meet Joe DiMaggio and get to know him, because as a youngster growing up in Southern California, I used to go to Wrigley Field and watch Joe DiMaggio when he played for the San Francisco Seals. He had a 61-game hitting streak with the San Francisco Seals, and I saw him get a couple of base hits in that streak as a youngster. And I became I idolized Joe DiMaggio as a baseball player, just how graceful he was in the outfield and just how well he played the game. There was just star Hall of Fame written all over him, even when he played in the Coast League. And I just think that Mantle, Mays, and myself all had fantastic careers. But to me, Joe DiMaggio was the best of the 4 of us.
Tell the story about throwing the ball out of the Coliseum.
Well, people remember you for a lot of things, and I'm always asked that question: did you throw the ball out of the Coliseum? Well, I came to the ballpark at the Coliseum one night and suited up for the game, and Don Zimmer was out in the outfield. Zimmer now managing the Cubs, if some of the people don't remember that. But anyway, Zimmer wasn't afraid to make a little wager. And they were out throwing the ball up into the seats out in left field, up over the screen. They were throwing baseballs up into the seats, and finally he came trotting in from left field. And he says, warm up. He says, I got a bet going. He says, I got a $400 bet that you can throw one out of the Coliseum, over the top row of the Coliseum. He said, if you do, you get half of the action. You get 200. So I loosened up, and my first throw, there was a concrete wall in back of the last row of seats in the Coliseum. I'm sure it's still there. I haven't been in the Coliseum in quite a while, but I'm sure it's still there. Anyway, the ball hit about halfway up the concrete wall. It cleared all the seats and hit halfway up the concrete wall. So the next throw, about a foot from going out of the stadium. So I told Popeye, I says, get the money ready, because this is it. And just as I threw the ball slipped off my middle finger and my elbow popped, and it only went about halfway up the seats. And I told Zimmer, I said, I won't be able to throw anymore, but keep the bet going. And at the end of the season, we'll try it again. So I went into the clubhouse, into the trainer's room, and my arm got so sore that I was in the lineup and I wasn't able to play that night. Well, Ed Roebuck had a fungo, and he was hitting balls over the Olympic torch from the right field fence. He was hitting baseball, and the people were coming in the peristyle end there underneath the Olympic torch, dodging baseballs. They're looking down the batting cage to see who in the world hit one that far. And actually, it was Eddie out in right field, hitting him up over the Olympic torch. But it was 900 feet or more, and nobody, of course, could hit one that far. But basically, what happened was Buzzie Bavasi got wind that I wasn't able to play, and what happened, and he fined Roebuck. I don't know. We'd have to ask Eddie how much he fined him for hitting baseballs out over the Olympic torch and everything else. But I got fined $200 a day until I could play. I said, well, I'll play tonight. If it's going to cost me $200, I'll play tonight. He said, no, you already said you can't play. You go home. Said it cost you $200 for today. So the next day I come to the ballpark, and I couldn't even shave. I had to shave left-handed. I got to the ballpark, and Bill Bueller took good care of me and got me fixed up. I went up to Alston, and I said, Walt, I can play. And he says, okay, I'll put you in left field, which was a break. It's a break because everybody knows how close the screen was to home plate, and I wouldn't have a very long throw in the outfield. And you could carry on a running conversation with a shortstop. You're that close to the playing field. But anyway, in that ball game, I got 2 or 3 hits. And a couple of them were infield hits, and I had a bad leg, but I still got a couple of hits in the game. Threw 2 guys out at the plate trying to score because they knew I had a bad arm. Threw 2 guys out at the plate, and it was like someone sticking an ice pick in my elbow when I made the throws. But you know, when you goof off and you say you can play, you got to go out and gut up. If you got a little pain, you got to play. Well, anyway. At the last day of the season, I told Zimmer I'd warmed up for about a week, and I told him, I says, okay, let's get that thing going. The first throw went out of the Coliseum, but that's no big deal. A lot of guys throw a baseball out of the Coliseum. But anyway, I might be one of the only guys that did it, but a lot of guys can't. But anyway, I got the 200 from Zimmer. I went in that winter to talk to Buzzie Bavasi, and he said, hey, I still got your 200. I said, Buzzie, why don't you give me that back? He said, all right, here. He said, give me the 200 back. So I made 400 on it.